June live show. Technically, this is the second June live show. Hopefully, show or anything like that. We're a little early. It's about 15 minutes before the action. Can you guys actually hear me okay? If there's anything up with my audio, for some reason I have an inkling that YouTube Live might be a little bit buggy. I was watching, for example, live streams that are usually 1080p quality were only being broadcast at 480, for example, which is, and I was seeing some weirdness as well. I'm thinking, like I said, it's blazing hot here and it's almost difficult to focus. So I was in the greenhouse earlier, and with all the cooling systems running, it's a good 88 and 100% humidity. So it's nice to be in the studio for a change. So this, at least here, I have air conditioning. I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but it's definitely running. It's not that fun to be out in the heat. So as you can see on the screen, the Tidal Gardens barbecue is coming up on July 27th. So it's a little less than a month away. You can purchase tickets if you like at tidalgardensbbq.eventbrite.com. That's the link there that I'm kind of blocking. And I'm sure that we'll be spamming out that link as time goes on. So yeah, it looks like we're expecting about 100-ish people. We'll see who ends up actually showing up, and there might be some people stopping by unexpectedly. We're just planning on food and arrangements like that right now. But it's going to be a pretty good time. You can kind of get an idea of what the venue looks like as far as where we're going to be doing most of the entertaining. This is kind of like the party barn that we've got. And then obviously there's going to be the greenhouse for everybody to check out the corals. And then, fingers crossed, the new building will be presentable as well. Last year when we did it, the new building was still very much in construction, which, it's a cool site. But I'm expecting to have aquariums up and running. It might be a little bit ambitious because there's been a million delays that it shouldn't have even have come to this timeline. But we were supposed to have them pretty much all done by late April, and now we're looking at mid-July delivery dates. So pretty much that gives us not that long to plumb everything together, get everything up and running. Should be fun. Should be fun. But assuming everything is okay, it'll be a cool site. Definitely. Okay. What other things? Yes, definitely special thanks to the Patreon donors. The list is definitely growing. Lisa Cloud at La Cree Fine Art, she's helped me out big time with my Patreon account. And so we're doing all different types of offerings in the way of stuff for the artist community. So a lot of the names that you see there are, I'd say it's about a 50-50% split between reef hobbyists and people that are into like the whole artist scene and are taking advantage of like our reference photos for their artwork. So yeah, definitely thank you to the Patreon crowd. And I'm thinking about adding more tiers to the Patreon thing. So like Rico, for example, he does a thing where people can do like a 30-minute call with him or a 1-hour call with him. And I don't know if I want to do that just yet, because honestly, like my consulting calendar is kind of booked, and I don't know if I want to give up like the next hour of my time for money. So anyway, I'm thinking about some other tiers that might make sense. So let's see who is here and hanging out with us. What's up, Blue Basin, Kai, Johan, Ian, Reefs, Debbie, Lane, mostly Reefs, Mike Howard, Roloff, and I can't even pronounce this. Sias 2014, T Shias. I don't know how to pronounce that, but welcome everyone. And like I said, if there's anything buggy with this stream, because as Kai said, YouTube Live is buggy. Yeah, I was seeing some stuff earlier in the week, and I'm just thinking, I really hope that this isn't going to be happening to me on Saturday. I could do without all that noise. What's up? Greetings from Germany. Bedrock salt tanks and loins. Yo yo yo. So yeah, hopefully some of you guys are coming to the barbecue. It should be a good time. Like I'm still in the process of like nailing down all the food and everything like that. But people are buying tickets every day, and so it'll be interesting to see what the final tally of people that show up are. And just for the folks that maybe are watching this later, all the parking is going to be at the church next door. So even if you can see some of the drone footage that I'm showing behind me, you can see like this big, long, white gravel driveway and parking lot. And so that's where everybody gets to park. Chai. Okay. Love you too. Alrighty. So yeah, we're starting just a little bit early, letting people file in. Now, the only other thing that I'm worried about is, yeah, that's the parking lot on the other side there. You can kind of see. So there's my driveway, and then there's the church parking lot. So the only other thing that I'm worried about is once I switch over to the actual Coral live show, I hope my computer doesn't freak out. Because the last time that I made a 4K broadcast file, there was just like a revolt, and I had to restart my machine and restart the whole stream. So if that happens, please bear with me. It's possible that it could happen, but yeah, I'm just prepared for the worst. I just have like no faith that this live stream is going to go smoothly. I don't know what it is. I've got a sixth sense about these things, and probably because I'm looking at the YouTube back end here, and it's like all warnings in red about not enough data. So I'm like, oh, that's not a good sign. Harkins, I bought my ticket but can't make it. Just wanted to support you. Maybe I can still get my goodie bag. Dude, I saw your ticket come through. I'm thinking, was he able to make it? For some reason, I thought that he wasn't able to make it. So I was thinking, maybe he's just being a bro and helping out. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Marcus, so this is not Coral Show? It is. We're early. So that starts in 7 minutes. 7 minutes, Marcus. And until then, we're just going to hang out for a little bit. I'm going to have to watch it in 4K at home on the TV, yes. I don't know your location. I live in Fresno, California. This is bright and sunny and hot Northeast Ohio. We're in Akron, Ohio. Mike Howard's positive thoughts, bro. Ugh. It's asking a lot some days, asking a lot. But no, this will be cool. I can't even do this. I can't even say that with a straight face. Hopefully it will be. Hopefully I'm wrong about everything in the world. All right. Okay, haven't joined in months. Yeah, pretty much all the live shows that we've done lately have been like Coral related, having some Coral stuff in the background. But I did want to put that out there about kind of like a last minute reminder of the barbecue. Looking to have a good time. Hopefully more people can make it. At the same time, I'm like, I don't know if I want too many people. So I'm talking with some sponsors. So yeah, they are sponsors, right? They're donors to the cause for the goodie bag. And Harkins, I'll definitely hook you up. So yeah, I was talking to some of them, and like Brightwell, for example, had sent some stuff. We're expecting some stuff from Omega. Fritz, I think, is going to be sending some stuff. Reef Shine guys they're going to be attending. I think Fritz is actually going to be coming too. And there's a few others. Coral Frenzy, they've committed to some stuff, and a few others. I think like Polyp Lab maybe. Where was I going with that? I totally lost my train of thought. I just started like naming names, and I totally forgot where I was going with that. I'm like trying to read the comments or try to get some context as to like how I just had spontaneous Alzheimer's here. Where was I going with that? Oh, now I remember. About hoping that more people show up, but I don't know. So one of the other coral vendors, nobody else is bringing coral or anything like that, but cherry corals. I'm sure you're familiar with cherry corals. They offered to put this barbecue event on their monthly mailing list, and I'm like, don't know if we need all that. So that's actually kind of something that's interesting. There's going to be several of my direct competitors showing up. So, and they're actually donating like gift cards as a part of the goodie bag. So even if you don't like my corals, maybe you like cherry corals, maybe you like zoanthus.com. There's plenty of other coral vendors that are tossing in some gift cards for their online stores. So there's that, right? Let's see. I'm planning on riding my bike 8 hours up there for the barbecue. Rico has been talking me into it. Knoxville, Tennessee. That's not 8 hours from here. Greg Reef Boy, looking forward to seeing the new plumb tanks. So am I. It's going to be down to the wire to get those tanks up and running and fully plumbed and everything like that. I was talking to my plumber. He is crazy busy right now because Ohio, for those of you that are not familiar with this region, is having like the most rain that it's ever had in like 200 years probably. So everyone is flooding. Like there's entire cities that are flooding, everyone's basements are flooding. So a part of like my genius plumber's job is to do a lot of maintenance accounts, and he does like emergency repair stuff. So like when a hospital is flooding, he's got to work on that rather than installing a new whatever in a new building, right? So the past like entire month, he's been not even booked solid. Like anything that's on the calendar has to wait because of all the emergency accounts that he's got to do. So the only time that he could even come over to meet me to talk about the plumbing for my tanks, he's like, I got to show up there at 9 o'clock. And so he showed up at 9 o'clock at night, and we like sat between like 9 till midnight planning plumbing. That's all we could do. And so to squeeze his time in there to then do all the plumbing stuff for these aquariums, it's going to be a tight window of opportunity. So I need like Ohio to kind of chill out a little bit on all this monsoon rain. So we'll see. I'm hopeful of that. I am hopeful and optimistic. Jim Harkins. Somehow I've not been receiving any info on your videos and live streams recently. You don't show up like before under my subscriptions when you post. So Jim, YouTube is trying very hard to get rid of like subscriptions. So people can subscribe and stuff, but unless you hit that notification bell, there's almost no chance that you're going to get notified of anything I do. The other thing you could do is sign up for a mailing list. We send out an email like a day before that we're going to be doing this live show. Yeah, so yeah, definitely that's for everybody in chat. If you want to get notifications for this, you have to hit the notification bell. And that goes for all of the channels that you like and want to get notifications for. Just subscribing doesn't do anything for YouTube. So you almost like you have to triple subscribe. You have to hit the subscribe button, you have to hit the bell button, and then you sometimes like on the app, there's like different levels of bell as to how often you want to get notified. Like I have to say 3 times that I want to get this notification. Thanks, YouTube. So that's the story there. All right, it's 2 o'clock Eastern here. Fingers crossed. Let's go to the actual live show. Boom. So far, so good. So far, so good. The last time that I did a 4K, so this is being broadcast at 1440p, which is not 4K. but I'm using a 4K file because of, long story, but it's because of YouTube's goofiness. And the last time I did this, it showed up kind of wonky and I had to restart my computer. But I kind of preemptively restarted it, so hopefully everything is good. Okay. Propane Malone, where's the barbecue going to be? It's going to be here at Tidal Gardens. So we are in Akron, Ohio. And people like Evan Keith, I'll be making the journey all the way from Lakewood. Awesome. We're getting people from all over the country pretty much. Yeah, it's going to be next level plumbing. Yes, it is. I think I'm going to make a really short video this coming week talking about my water makeup system. I touched on it in the last building update video, but it wasn't actually operational then. And I was kind of pumped up and optimistic about how well it would work. And it is good. But I didn't realize how good it was going to be. It completely changed how we do everything here. It's the most amazing thing ever. Like, we don't do big water changes anymore, in the sense that we don't drain out an entire sump and fill it back up with salt water. We do like these little micro water changes, basically bagging corals up for our customers. That obviously that's removing water from the system. So when we're doing like a big packing day, for example, probably Monday and Tuesday are going to be pretty big packing days for this live show. A lot of water gets removed from our system that way. And also when we're doing like siphoning maintenance type stuff, that also removes a bunch of water. And now we have this nearly unlimited supply of salt water at our demand at 77 degrees. So we can just do anything we want and then immediately top it right back up to where it needs to be. And like I said, that sounds like so minor, but it's changed everything. And we even do more maintenance and more water change now than we ever did before. And also, like, just to handle evaporation, there's a freshwater line and a saltwater line. So if our salinity is kind of trending a little bit high, we just like use the freshwater side. It's so nice. It's so simple. It's like, where's this been my whole life? And so, yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but the saltwater and freshwater lines are available at every sump. So you don't even have to go very far to do all the maintenance. It's so wonderful. Garrett Keller, hello Than, my first live stream. Awesome, glad you could make it, Garrett. Your name sounds familiar though. Are you sure this is your first? I don't know why. I thought I would have sworn I remember the name before in chat. Yes, and thank you too, please. And how's it going? Good to see you. Yeah, I saw that you purchased some tickets as well for the barbecue, so it'll be nice to hang out. 328 Reef, he's got his tickets. Nice. JJ14G, wish we could go but can't. Oh, that's too bad. Hopefully sometime in the future. How do you talk your wife into letting you start a reef tank? That's a great question. And that's when I dodge entirely by staying single. So Harkins, so how amazing is the RO system in terms of production rate? It is ridiculously good. It is practically unfair how good it is. Most home hobbyist RO systems can do 1 clean gallon for every 4 waste gallons. Okay, 1 to 4. A really good pressurized commercial system can do 1 to 1. So it's like basically 4 times as efficient, right? The one that I have downstairs, partly because it's using rainwater to start with, and partly because it has a recirculation loop already built into it, I can get 2 clean for 1 waste. So theoretically, I'm like running through like the same volume of water, but getting so much more clean RO water. And once this RO water is tested out, it's coming out at about 2 parts per million. It's pretty darn clean. And like I said, it's starting from rainwater that we collect here. All that rainwater gets disinfected and processed, and then it goes into the RO. And it's very gentle at that point on the membrane. And this thing just cranks out clean water. And we've been making ballpark 800 gallons of RO a week. And it makes that in 8 hours. It's really fast. Yeah, 1-to-1 is amazing. 2-to-1, also amazing. Also amazing. Aaron Alexander got my tickets last week. Awesome. Before they sell out. I think Dan might drop some bomb on us about it soon. Hopefully we don't run out of tickets. But that's all. The ticket limit right now is at 175. That's a lot of people to stuff into this property. Becky, I've got my ticks. Can't wait to meet you all. Awesome. Glad you could make it. It should be a good time. And if you guys have any like food suggestions, like right now we're planning on some pulled pork, pulled chicken, some hot dogs, burgers, chips and dip type stuff. And one of the guys here is going to be making grape leaves, and I think that Omega C is bringing a cake. So, and you know, I'm also hoping for good weather. Now, on one hand, good weather for me is like not 100 degrees, because if it's raining like crazy, we actually have a ton of square footage that everybody can just hang out in. So if it's like super rainy, we've got the greenhouse, we've got the party barn, and we've got the new building. So altogether, that's like, what, 15,000 square feet or something? That's plenty of room to hang out. Yeah. So Harkins, there was 100 tickets when I bought mine last week. Cool. There's probably like, so you know, I mentioned like a bunch of different companies like Brightwell and places like that are sending stuff. And there's a lot of representatives from those companies coming. So I think there's like, you know, obviously because they're donating stuff, I'm not gonna be like, you also have to buy a ticket. I'm not gonna be like that guy. So I think there might be like 50 on top of all the people that purchase tickets. Between like 50 to 60 people, because like, you know, the company reps and everything like that. Okay, let's see. All right, hello. By the way, Nathan, thank you for the $2. I appreciate it. Always could use the super chats. So as awesome as all my plumbing is, equally awesome is my plumbing bills. So my genius plumber, he's the guy that's been super busy, can't find time to do anything, right? Other than like save people's homes and businesses from flooding. He hadn't billed me for 6 months. 6 months. And I was like telling him, like, you gotta send me a bill. You gotta send me a bill. Because the longer we wait, you're just gonna drop this financial bomb on me. And like the closer we get to July, when I also have to pay for aquariums and stuff like that, it's not good timing. So he finally sent me a bill just in time for the whole aquarium thing. And yeah, it's like $2, I'll take it. I need it all. I need every cent. YouTube allowed me to send free super chat, something to do with YouTube Premium. That is interesting. That must be a new thing, Nathan, and I appreciate. Wait, did you take away my mod authority? Yeah, because you were like MIA forever. Here, let me give you your wrench back. There you go, Nathan. Nathan's a mod again. Good job. Harkins, how much was the bomb? It's a lot. It's a lot. Oh, Ernie Wallace, $10. Thank you, dude. Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a shocking sum. Like, let's just say that my water change system, you are in the ballpark of a Tesla Model 3. And so instead of me getting a Tesla Model 3, I have an RO system that holds water and stuff. Yeah. Luckily, most of that is paid. The Cove, I don't have a reef tank, but I'm so fascinated with the corals. They're fascinating creatures. It's one of those things where once you start to get into saltwater aquariums, most people get drawn in by the fish, and very quickly they get flipped onto the coral, and I mean very quick. And the corals is what keeps people in the hobby. That's what's happened to everyone I know. All premium members get a $1.99 super chat every month. Awesome. All right, guys, hook me up. Hook me up with that $1.99. I think that Twitch does something, or Amazon Prime does something like that with Twitch, where like every month you can subscribe to a Twitch creator, and they would get like some part of $5 a month for that subscription, and every month it resets. So it looks like YouTube is doing something kind of similar. RO is better than Tesla? For me, it sure as heck is. It's like, what am I going to do with another car? I barely leave my house. The Tesla doesn't filter your water. Darn Skippy. Did I just say that? I've never said that in my whole life before. It's like me trying to not swear, trying to keep everything G-rated. And it's so hard for me because I swear like a sailor in my off time. Kids are at Disney with their grandparents, meaning I have to have time to play on the live stream. Awesome, Nathan. And by the way, thanks, Nathan, for coming on the last live stream. It's very cool. Marcus Aurelius, what's the deal with the thing that says color temp? Is your camera doing that automatically? It is a special effect. So if you, it's kind of, since I'm showing this over 30 some seconds, it looks really subtle, okay? But the color is changing from like a more yellow color at around like 6,800 Kelvin to a very blue color closer to 18,000 Kelvin. So you can see as that color temperature is rising, things are getting more and more and more blue. So this is just to give you guys an idea of what these corals look like under variable lighting. Because well, you can see pictures, and you can see pictures under different lighting. But for this live show, it's like we're just going that extra step. We're showing you the coral from multiple angles, multiple color temperatures. So if that doesn't help you make a purchasing decision, I can't help you. Simple as that. The Cove, I have 10 freshwater tanks. I haven't been interested in freshwater tanks for a very long time until I went to Aquashella, which is half freshwater. That was very cool. And I also went to the Sumida Aquarium in Tokyo, which has a lot of planted aquariums by Takashi Amano, and that was like really cool. I'm not sold on whether I will ever have a freshwater tank again, but it's a possibility. Random question, what do you wash your hands with before putting them into the tank? Is hand soap okay? So Seabone Deluxe, I don't think so. If you do use soap, you have to like really make sure to get all that soap off because it's not so good. What we do, we just use essentially water and friction, just making sure to thoroughly scrub your hands off. Because having stuff on your hands, like lotions and that like Purell disinfectant gels and stuff like that, that can super kill your tank. So anytime that, by the way, you really shouldn't use that Purell stuff anyway. There's a whole bunch of reasons to not do that. But if you do, really make sure that you wash your hands off before putting it into your tank. Okay, let's see. Gary, been out 30 years and you're sucking me back in. Yes, it's like the Coral Mafia. I'll be coming up from Dayton to see you soon. Awesome. Rossi, what's up? Is Recordia an easy mushroom to care for, and how fast do they grow? Do they like high light? I think they're pretty easy. They tend to like higher light because from everything that I've heard, they're collected fairly shallow in the Caribbean, like in the Florida Keys. Greg Reefboy, do you ever plan to sell hard goods? No, I don't, Greg. We used to have a sister company called Advanced Reef Aquarium where we did sell hard goods, and it's a very different business, and I had no fun with it at all. So I'm hitting the eject button on the hard goods. Aaron's Aquarium. What's up, Aaron? What's up, Aaron's? Michael. These live streams are killing me. So many beautiful corals. I can't purchase any. You know, the UK is getting some pretty good stuff lately. I've seen some photos that like Laura has sent me. It's like you guys have some access to some good stuff. Are you going to MACNA in Orlando? I don't have plans to go to MACNA yet. I'm missing out on a bunch of trade shows and stuff like that just because of how busy stuff is here. And I don't travel a lot to begin with. So 328, I've gone to Aquashella in Dallas, and so far this year that's the only one that I have on the calendar. But I might try to get to one other one this year. I've made no plans. Sly Fox, some of the best grow out frags have come from Tidal Gardens. Thank you for the healthy stock. Well, thank you. I definitely appreciate the patronage, for sure. I use RO water to wash my hands. Good idea. No shipping to the UK. Yeah, like shipping. So the only thing that we're allowed to export are soft corals, and it only makes sense to export ginormous quantities if you're going to do the export thing. And on top of all that, we don't really have a lot of soft corals. If you go to the Tidal Gardens website right now and look at the soft coral section, there's probably like less than 10 corals for sale. It's so sad. We need to do a better job of like putting stuff up for sale. That's why we're doing this live show, right? Rossi at the BBQ. How do you prevent people from stealing corals from your tanks? We'll have some people like watching and stuff, but that's always a risk, you know. Like you kind of have to have some faith in the general public. But I do have to say, if anything bad happens, it'll happen once, because this place would be closed to the public forever. No appointments, no open hours, nothing if anything bad happens, ever. That goes for like the barbecue, that goes for anybody that has an appointment and then does something crazy. The minute something like that happens, Tidal Gardens is on complete lockdown forever. Like we're just like taking our like Google listing off of the map, and there's going to be a gate that you would need a semi truck to get through. So in that sense, nothing is stopping people from stealing corals from my tank. But like I said, it'll happen once. Yeah. You'll need SEAL Team 6 to get it back into Tidal Gardens ever again after that. Yeah. And there's a good chance that my phone number will disappear too. Like, don't even call. Nobody call. Rossi, so no one is allowed into the tanks? No, right now everything's cool. Yeah, everything's cool. There's plenty of people are able to walk around and take a look at stuff and ask questions. I'm just saying, everything's cool right now, until it's not. Yeah, and surveillance helps. I mean, like, we've got cameras and stuff like that, but it's like at that point, so what? You saw the people doing the malfeasance, right? It's kind of like too late at that point. So, it's like, I'm not a rat, but if you happen to see something, go ahead and rat. Rat them out to somebody wearing a Tidal Gardens shirt. Yeah, it happens. Yeah, definitely, Rossi. Like, there's certain markets, I'm not going to name names, but there are active acts of sabotage that go on, like just from competitor organizations, and I don't know, like we're kind of like on the opposite end of the spectrum where we've got like very good relationships with a lot of our competitors. A lot of our competitors are showing up and hanging out with us for the barbecue. We have a pretty good relationship with people. But you know, it does happen, and like thefts do happen. Not not so much at Tidal Gardens, just because it's by appointment. I mean, we're standing next to you pretty much the entire time that somebody has an appointment here. I mean, we let people walk around and stuff like that, but you're not going to steal a coral without us noticing. That'd be like super weird. So, no, it's not a huge thing on my mind, but for like a big event like this, I kind of have to have trust in the people, and you know, like we're gonna have some staff here, but like generally, can everybody just be cool, you know? And if we can't be cool, everything's on lockdown forever. So there's that. Two, please better behave with the barbecue people. I have my eye on you. Yeah, seriously. We need to get like some bouncers. Ernie Walsh. It would be quite sad if that happened. Yeah, it sucks. Like there was a thing where one local store here was finding pennies in their sump, you know, because like the copper will kill corals and stuff. And one place had like a total weird situation where like they had like those Durso overflows, you know, the ones that have like parts that actually come apart on the overflow, and people had like taken the tops off of some of those standpipes in the overflow and put pennies in that to like totally be stealth about their sabotage. Crazy stories every now and again. Mel Diem, it's been a while. What's up, Mel Diem? Need to start doing updates on my 35-gallon cube. Yeah, doing the staying on top of video creation can be tough for sure. Won a $25 gift card to the store that I won from Rico's Patreon. Feel like it's burning a hole in my pocket on this show. Thanks, appreciate it. I appreciate that you like the corals, right? Macy's Daddy 777 video is amazing. Thanks for your previous video on your camera equipment. Thank you for watching it. Like you and like my mom, I think are the only people that ever saw that video. Because here's like a little secret about YouTube. YouTube dictates what kind of channel you're going to be. So, for example, I'm a coral guy. If I start to talk about anything that's not coral, like directly coral related, I'm going to get 1/10 of the viewership. So when I did my thing about my camera, I knew that it was going to take a hit. And so usually like after 24 hours, I'll get between like 4,000 to 8,000 views. I think that video is still stuck at like 2,000 views. So I get it. So I have to stay in my lane. It's like I'm not going to go into doing vlogging, even though I wouldn't because I don't like it. But if I started vlogging, that's going to get killed. This live stream is going to get killed just because YouTube has a weird thing about live. But if you stray too far from the path, YouTube punishes you big time on viewership. So I'm going to segue that to my friend Matt from Jayo Nation. He's the guy that's doing like the triking adventure all through. Basically, he's going to go around the world, and he lives in China. He's originally from Michigan, and if you don't know who Matt is, he has like a fantastic like travel triking biking channel, and he is I think in Thailand right now potentially. So he is struggling with views. And I'm like, I know exactly what your problem is. Your channel, according to YouTube, is not about trike stuff. It's not about travel. It's not even about Asia, okay? The problem with your channel is you are a reef aquarium channel because he first started off with something called Matt's Reef Tank. And that's kind of how the whole thing started because he did the Matt's Reef Tank thing before he got on the bike and started traveling the world. And because of that, I think that YouTube has always pegged his channel as a reef aquarium channel. So whenever he does anything reef related, like at a friend's tank or something, he'll get like 30,000 views. And then he'll do this amazing adventure like through Vietnam and Cambodia and all this stuff, like, and it gets like 2,000 consistently. And I'm like, Matt, I'm so sorry, but this is just not a travel channel that you can publish videos on. Like, YouTube has poisoned it with their algorithm somehow. Oh. So let's see. Yeah, so I think Mostly Reef put a link to his channel right there. So thanks, Mostly Reef. Harkins, I'll be doing the CCTV surveillance from Hawaii for you. I appreciate that. You can, yeah, you can see people in glorious 480p doing blurry stuff near my tanks. Greg Reefboy, I like your video on Astrea snail spawning. Very interesting. Yeah, it's kind of cool. In the comments, a whole bunch of people said, yeah, that happened with my Trocus snails. And Trocus snails, Trocus snails, Trocus snails, Trocus snails, all these people are spawning Trocus snails. I would kill for spawning Trocus snails because I like Trocus a lot more than I like Astrea snails. But Trochuses are largely unavailable now. They're expensive when they were available, and when you buy a ton of them, they all show up dead. They're really, really, really difficult to get from a wholesaler and have survive. It sucks because they are fantastic snails. They do a great job cleaning, and they can flip themselves over. So they're very low maintenance, and they can spawn. Mine don't spawn. I don't know why. Or maybe I don't see it. Maybe the little Trochuses don't survive. I don't know what it is, but I'm so envious of people that have breeding colonies of Trochus snails at their disposal. Diacanthus, I watched the entire cinematography video, but I'll be the first to tell you that I didn't understand much of it. That's okay. If back when I was just doing stills photography, all that stuff about videography wouldn't have made any sense to me either. It is a very deep rabbit hole. Loins, his reef tank is when I started following him. Exactly, right? Exactly. He's a reef aquarium channel that unfortunately does not have any reef aquariums. And YouTube is killing him. Because if you see his channel, his editing and what he's actually doing is ridiculous. Like the amount of editing quality that goes into every single one of his videos. And for a while there, he was making one a day for like a year or 2 years even. One a day at such high production quality that it's absolutely amazing. And after all that, it's like YouTube is not really feeling it. Not so much. I actually have my Trochus doing it right now. See? Stomatella, we have breeding colonies. I don't know why I call snails colonies. What's a group of snails called? You know how it's like what is it, like a murder of crows? Or I don't know what like a group of goats is called. But what is a group of snails called? You should watch Coralfish 12G. Someone stole an expensive yellow torch caught on camera, stolen from Ginger Twins. Yeah, I did see that video. Yeah, definitely like theft happens. You know, I'm so eternally grateful that I'm not open to the public sometimes, because we had this crazy situation at a store here. There was like a customer, he bought a fish, the fish died, he wanted a refund, store owner wouldn't give him a refund. And so the guy like broke into the store and broke every tank with a hammer, like over like one fish. You kidding? I think that guy might have gone to jail over that, probably. Unfiltered reefer. How do you prevent control pests in your systems? You really can't prevent them entirely. once you scale up past a certain number of tanks, a certain number of gallons, it's realistically not going to happen. So the best thing, there's two best things you can do concurrently. One is to have a lot of active predators of known pests. So that's why you see stuff like damsels, Melanaris wrasses, copperband butterflies, and basically stuff to constantly knock down the population of pests. Some pests are going to be even trickier, so you need to have like specialized fish to eat those. Things like dragon-faced pipefish for like red bugs that are on Acropora. And there's like these little tiny, what look like little tiny mantis shrimp that sometimes grow mucus tubes near the base of zoanthids that really bother them. And nothing eats those except for, I think, mandarins eat those. So you kind of have to then get into like some specialized fish. And then on top of that, I've noticed that regularly dipping stuff, even when stuff looks healthy, helps them out. So the dipping part is in itself stressful, but the periodic dipping does help control stuff. So, for example, my zoanthids right now are okay. They're not fantastic. They're not gigantic like I'd like to see. So I went to another place that also does some farming of corals, and I was looking at their zoanthid tank, and their zoas really did look good, like really good. And I know that they buy a lot from us, and they've made their stuff look better than my stuff, and I sold it to them, right? I'm like, what's the deal? So, you know, we can talk about like the lighting, the flow and stuff, sure, that matters, but generally speaking, at the commercial level, everybody does that pretty well. But he said that they are very aggressive about dipping, whether it looks like it needs it or not. The minute that one of them is kind of closed up for any reason is highly suspicious. And that is an indicator, like sometimes you just have to like listen to your corals. And that's a perfect example of that. If your corals are consistently closed, there is a reason that has a solution. So yeah, they basically do a lot of dipping, and in particular with zoanthids, and don't do this with hardly any other coral, okay? Specifically zoanthids. I'll say it one more time. Specifically with zoanthids, you can do this. You can do a very brief freshwater dip, and that knocks down a lot of potential pests that some of the commercial dips don't have any real effect on, but freshwater does, and the coral can handle that. Specifically zoanthids. Okay. I don't want to be hearing about other people dipping their acros and saying that Tidal Garden said it's okay. It's not. Specifically zoas. Oh. Diacanthus looked it up for me. I like both, and two please was first. You know what? I'm so late. A whole bunch of people had said it. Harkin said it. Coral Reef, or Two Please said it. Diacanthus. It's a route of snails. I like a route of snails, or a walk of snails. They don't even have feet, do they? Rossi, can you keep 2 Melanaris in one tank? I've seen it done, but it's in a bigger tank. I don't know if I would do it in a smaller tank. Reef Club, what about French? Hello from this country. Welcome. Welcome, Reef Club. Let's see. Yeah, so other people are chiming in on the fish thing. Like, fish are, generally speaking, pretty mean to one another. So I run into aggression issues, and it's like the worst. Like, sometimes a fish will jump out of a tank, land in a lower tank, and I'll wake up and it's just beaten to heck by like a tang. Speaking of, I need to do this video where I talk about all the fish I don't like. That'll be like my hot take video, because it's like, I don't like clownfish, I don't like tangs. Basically, I don't like all the fish that everybody else seems to like. And that's gonna be like my most downvoted video ever, and I'm gonna make it one of these days. I don't like tangs. So all the tangs that I currently own, are pretty much the only tangs I will ever own from this point forward, with the exception of an Achilles tang, because Ben really, 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 really wants an Achilles. We can get one Achilles, give that a try. But I don't want to buy any more tanks ever again. Technically, they do have a foot. As soon as I said that, I knew I was wrong. I knew I was wrong. I think I've made a snail video where I actually say they have a foot. I forgot. And look, we're talking about zoas, right? So these guys actually look pretty open. Sometimes zoas are, and especially when the live stream first started, like the first dozen or so corals I think were zoas, they are so difficult to video. Like we have to set them out the day before and just hope they open up by the time it's showtime. Sometimes like the fish like to grab onto these plugs and throw them, especially the fox faces love to do that. So for example, like the top side of these guys are a little closed, and right in the middle there, I know it has like those little creepy crawlies that like to make those mucus tunnels. So I'm probably going to give this guy a little bit of a shake in fresh water, because, by the way, any kind of like little crustacean plus fresh water, that'll take care of the problem real quick. And the thing is, it's not even that those things are like killing the zoanthids. It's not like a zoanthid eating nudibranch or a zoanthid eating spider. It's just some random creepy crawly that happens to like to make their tunnels right next to zoas, and that bothers the zoa enough to close. It's like, it's not the end of the world, but yeah, I think that one for sure, number 63, I'll be giving a quick swish in fresh water. Fresh water like tap water or RO water? We use RO, but I don't think it makes any difference. Let's see. So David, how did you get into the fragging thing? It was a long time ago, and I was in business school, and I had a 120 gallon tank. And you know how it is. These things are expensive, and to kind of promote success, you can't allow them to grow into each other. So you have to prune them back. And what do you do with these cuttings? So you can give them away, you can try to sell them, you can throw them away. Not recommended for something that pricey. But I was in business school at the time, and I wrote a business plan that what would this look like if I took this 120 gallon tank and scaled it up into an actual business to make profit. And that's kind of how all of this started. It started from just like a home aquarium, and it was like this little background side hustle for over 10 years, where it was just basically burning through money and not doing anything. I mean, there was an entire year where I had one sale the whole year, and I had to refund that sale because that was, I know the date. It was in February of 2007. And I know that it's February of 2007 because there was a big blizzard, and it killed everything in my greenhouse, including the one order that year that was placed. So I'm like, I'm sorry, I have to give you a refund because everything's dead. So yeah, it was a side hustle for a really long time in the background. And then one day it does get enough momentum that it could replace my office gig. Unfiltered Reefer, thank you so much for the $9.99. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Chuck Admire. Thank you, Chuck. And also Chuck is a Patreon donor. So double thank you. Greg, Reef Boy, what's the best lighting for zoanthids? I don't think zoas are particular when it comes to lighting. I've seen them kept in all kinds of conditions. I personally am looking for something right around 100 par. Nothing too bright, nothing too dim, but I think 100 par is a safe point, and you'll want to give them some variation. So I know some people just do like all blue light all the time. I'm not really into that. I usually do like a mix of, if you're familiar with the ATI bulbs, Blue Plus and Coral Plus is my favorite combination. What about iodine for zoas? Long ago, lots of people were doing it. Nowadays, near no one. Do you dose, measure iodine in your tanks? I don't dose or test for iodine in my tanks, first off. Iodine for zoas, I think that stems from the disinfectant qualities in iodine. And some people, I think anecdotally, were saying that zoanthids like iodine. I don't know how true that is. But as a disinfectant, I think that it could be good for zoas because a lot of times people, the problem that they run in with zoas is they get weird like infections and stuff like that. If you've heard of like zoa pox, that is one such ailment that iodine can help with. People also use furin too for that type of stuff, which is some sort of freshwater fish medication. Long story short, all of those things can be like dipped periodically to help zoas out. Sly Fox, can a calc reactor do as good a job as a calcium reactor in a 180 gallon frag system? Yeah, theoretically. Kalkwasser is great stuff. I tend to like it a little bit less because there are ways to screw up Kalkwasser pretty badly, and it's less hard to screw up a calcium reactor. But there is something kind of magical about a calcium hydroxide solution. It does a lot of good stuff in your tank. Danny Brotman, do you ship to Canada at all? I'm sorry, we don't. We don't do any international shipping. Let's see. Yeah, Diacanthus kind of like kind of echoed it. If it's set up properly and working well, it's great. But if it's not, it could really cause some problems. Like, I know how to dip or drip calc. Okay, I've kind of been doing this hobby for 35 years or something like that. Calc is a very familiar thing. What is also familiar is laziness. And occasionally, like the calc that I mix up, it's not quite ready. But you know what? I gotta go. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this drip anyway. And it's in a 1,000-gallon system, it'll figure itself out. But because it's not properly stirred, like a lot of the cloudy stuff gets into my tank. The cloudy stuff pretty quickly clouds up my 1,000-gallon tank and gives everything a chemical burn because I'm lazy sometimes. So stuff like that can happen. There's a lot of user error involved with Kalkwasser that you open yourself up to. I'm not saying that you will have a problem specifically. I'm just saying I've done it a dozen times, easily a dozen times. So we can do away with that aspect just by running calcium reactors. If the calcium reactor has a problem, nothing really happens. They kind of stop working. David Kint, do you prefer calc or two-part? I like two-part. I know people that do calcium reactors, calc, and two-part, and their tank has like more coral than water in it. So there's that. Texan Boy 22, I'm liking the shirt. Thank you. This is one of my only non-custom shirts. But it's pretty sweet though. It's loud as hell. This is back when I was a lot more social, I guess. The Cove, what is the best small size tank for a reef tank? Honestly, it's the biggest tank you can possibly fit into the space you're talking about. I'm a big tank person on many philosophical levels. I know that like the whole nano and pico thing is very popular. There are channels and websites and forums dedicated all to that. Please check them out. When it comes to that, for me, it is not my jam. So whatever you can fit, that's the small size. Let's see. My ACAN seems to benefit from periodic iodine dips. So mostly reefs, I wonder if it's the iodine or if it's just the dipping in general, because I think that if you're going to be taking the time to periodically dip the coral, that coral's also not getting neglected. And sometimes just the attention alone to kind of like dote on the corals a little bit, maybe be a little bit better about feeding them, be a little bit better about if they're looking a little bit unhappy, just in case, let's do a prophylactic dip. All of that is going to lead to success. And just like taking the time to take a coral out of the tank, put it into like a separate container, and blowing it off and just looking at it, seeing, you know, if there's any issues, doing that consistently with no chemicals, just that dedicated observation will pay huge dividends. Huge. But obviously it takes a lot of time, but it's very possible to do it on the hobbyist level. And it's, in that sense, it's part of the hobby. It's kind of the fun of the hobby, right? Commercial level, it's harder. So that's when people, when they want to talk about pests and they say, well, such and such big facility, they don't have pests. I'm like, I guarantee they do. In fact, I'll bet $1 million I will find a pest in their systems. And no one should take me up on that bet. I'll crush you on that bet. It won't take long at all. It is so difficult at scale to remove pests. So difficult. Yeah, it's purely naive to think that anybody at scale simply doesn't have pests. That's crazy talk. That's like saying there's no oxygen in that water. Of course there is. But like on a smaller home scale thing where you can really just get in there, just dote and just go crazy, and then if anything looks weird, dip it, quarantine, do whatever it needs. Like on like large scale systems, you're talking about frequent mass dippings, frequent mass observational cleanings, and then some places I know they will just they might have like several large tanks installed into one system. They will completely shut off one tank, completely remove the fish, remove the coral, and just sterilize it. Just like fill it up with fresh water and just drain it all down and away, and then start it back up. Basically just fill it back up with new salt water and turn it back onto the rest of the system. And they say that you would think that the more mature, established ecosystem type systems would do the best. It's not. It's the ones that got hard reset that grow the best corals. It's kind of counterintuitive, at least for me. So they would, but that's the extent that people kind of do on the commercial scale to try to control pests, is like be willing to do a hard reset on one tank, and then you do the mass dippings and everything like that, put it back. Crazy. Adam, what kind of salt do you use? We use Omega C. It is a Ohio-based company that makes salt. You know what? This is something that always confused me just a little bit about salt and salt manufacturers. Salt manufacturers, maybe they're just super progressive when it comes to this, but a lot of salt brands want to work with content creators. And it's like, we really want you to use our salt. I'm not going to name too many names because I've got a good relationship with Omega, but yeah, I've been approached by like several salt brands, and I'm just thinking like, just from what I know about the salt industry, there's like razor thin margins on this. So I was one of my friends, Luke, he wanted to buy 10 buckets of salt, and I'm giving him a little bit of a discount, but like when you buy 10 of them, I think I made as much profit selling one zoanthid as I did selling 10 buckets of salt. So it's like, why do these salt brands care? Almost like they can't, do they even make money? I don't understand. I'm so confused. But to answer your question, Adam, Omega does the salt here. And if you guys are attending the barbecue on July 27th, Omega is going to be there, and they're going to be giving out some bags of salt. So obviously, if you have to get on a plane later, maybe not the best thing to take with you. But if you're local and you can drive it back with you, they're probably going to have some samples of salt that people can take home. Let's see. Ironworks Aquatics. Hi, Than. Hello. Great show as always. Appreciate it. Real quick, out of curiosity, in the comments, can you let me know what resolution you're watching this stream in? So we were talking before, well, at least I was talking before, about the YouTube goofiness as it involves live streams. And one thing that was very strange about the last 2 live shows that I did is I broadcasted them in 1440p, which is almost 4K. Not quite, but it's 1440. It's pretty good, better than 1080 HD. I broadcasted at that, and I know that I broadcasted it at that because I can look at the analytics as to who watched at what resolution. And I see that people did see it at 1440. But when it finally does get processed and uploaded to YouTube, it only goes up to 1080. Now, 3 live shows ago, I had done something slightly different. I was using a 4K original master file, which I'm doing again today, okay? And I want to see if that has some effect on whether or not it's going to process up to 1440p once we're all done with the live show. So I'm kind of curious, and I'm seeing in chat here, I'm seeing some 1440s. I'm seeing a 480. Wow, Danny brought me. Come on. Maybe it's a phone, right? Maybe he's watching on a phone, on a cellular connection. 720 on the phone, iPhone. I'm on my phone watching it at 360. Oh man, the Cove. Auto set at 720, 60, and I get it. A lot of people are watching mobile. For the desktop guys, 1440, 60 is what's up. Yeah, I was just curious, and I wanted to get an idea of whether people knew that you could go all the way up to 1440, because 1440 definitely looks better than 480. Just saying. Mel Wong, don't own a 4K monitor yet. Technically, I guess I do. I was about to say I don't either. I was about to say I don't own a 4K TV yet because I don't own a 4K. I don't own a TV. 1080 looks great. Still looks good. Great. Jessica J. Will peppermint shrimp eat rock flower anemones? I don't think so, no. Is the beautiful rock flower anemone recently posted on your Facebook page for sale? We are really low on rock flowers right now, only because we don't have a good place to put them. Like, we had to change some stuff around, and we are desperately in need of getting our tanks in this new building set up because we are stuffed to the gills to the point where we can't restock on certain things until we frag out some other things, if that makes sense. We need to spread out. We need more room. But it's entirely in my plan coming up here soon to get a bunch of them and start selling those again. Deacanthus is watching at 240p. Are you sure you're watching my stream at all? He's probably just here chatting. It's like there could be, I don't know who's popular right now. Jake Paul, I don't know. He's watching some Fortnite, and it's like, yeah, that could totally be some coral. It's colorful. Okay. Carry Reefer 500 carry. What do you prefer than calcium reactor or 2-part dosing? Someone had asked that a little bit earlier, or some variation of that. We use primarily calcium reactors. So calcium reactors are very good at maintaining levels. When you need to raise levels, 2-part is really good for that. Now, when it comes to when we use 2-part, I've noticed that we use like 80% the alkalinity side and very little of the calcium side. For whatever reason, our systems, we have like very high and very stable calcium, very high, very stable magnesium, It's the alkalinity that likes to move. And that is where, when we do test for the alkalinity level, is when we kind of have to boost it a little bit with the 2-part. So we use B-ionic for that. So, but if I had to choose one versus the other, I'm choosing a calcium reactor. David Kent, what is your favorite frog spawn coral? We've got this brownish gold one from Indonesia that we're trying to grow out, and I like it a lot. Amanda Pinkerton just changed from 1080 to 1440. Looks great. Yes, thank you. Yeah, definitely. If you've got the screen for it, if you've got the bandwidth for it, the 1440 I think is going to look quite a lot nicer. The other day, I was watching a photography live stream, and they had a 4K broadcast, and I don't know how to do a 4K. Well, honestly, I don't think I have the bandwidth to do a 4K broadcast, but I don't even know what software they were using to do a 4K broadcast. Like, I've got Wirecast Pro. This is like $1,000 broadcasting software, right? It's $1,000. Cannot output 4K. I know OBS couldn't do 4K the last time I checked. Like last week, I couldn't figure out how to make it do 4K. But these guys did do 4K on their live stream, and it looked like I was looking at my desktop. It was that crisp. Like, their live stream looked no different than me just having like other applications open, because they would be showing stuff in Lightroom on how to do some photo manipulation stuff, and I'm like, this is the most unbelievable thing ever. I wish I could do 4K. Sinochase 2012 just changed to 1440. Nice. Marcus really it's like he changed it, now it's buggy. Oh, well, there's that. So hopefully it's not me. Greg Reefboy, do you use biopellet reactors? No, I'm like staunchly not in that camp. So I got into the hobby a long time ago, and I skipped over entire trends that happened. So 2 trends I really kind of passed over entirely were GFO and biopellet reactors. So I've never had great experiences with them, and I think that both of them are too harsh and too aggressive on what they're supposed to do. I think they do what they're supposed to do very well, but I think the aggressiveness that they do it has like a negative effect on the corals, and it happens very quickly. So I tend to stay away. I've never had a good experience running any type of ultra low nutrient, like, I guess, aggressive probiotic type thing. And we've tried a couple of different things. We tried it from everything from basically dosing vodka all the way to some of the more esoteric things like the zeovits and the aquaphora stuff. It's not for me at all. Okay, so I think that this show goes to 180, item number 180. So we're a little bit past the halfway point. You can really see the color temp change a lot better now on 1080. That doesn't surprise me. Like, I know that this is another thing entirely, but the way that this stream looks is very different, I have a feeling, than well, actually, no, this is pretty good. This is acceptable. All right, good. So I can't fully explain to you how difficult it is to get the colors right on this live stream. So I'll kind of like go over it here, just because like we're in a little bit of a slow period. I'll just cover this real quick. So whenever you shoot a video, it looks one way in camera. When you then take that file, and then I create the file separately in a nonlinear editor. I use Final Cut Pro. And then I have to do this color manipulation thing to show you the color shift and everything like that. So I am manipulating colors again after the camera does its thing. So the camera is messing with color on its own. Then Final Cut is messing with color. And then I output this file and I bring it into Wirecast, my broadcasting software. And in Wirecast, it has to take this huge amount of data and pack it down into something that can be sent over my weak internet to the YouTube servers. Okay? So in that compression process, it will do something to the colors. Then once it gets to YouTube, okay, YouTube will do its own compression and color editing. And what's worse about the whole thing, the worst part about the whole thing, absolute worst part, is the YouTube part of it. Because YouTube changes occasionally how it handles color. So last year around this time, if I put out a video that has very neutral looking colors, the YouTube algorithm compression will make it look almost black and white, drab. Like all the color information is lost. So what I had to do was I have to kind of like punch up the color a little bit so that when it finally gets to YouTube, it gets crunched down into something that more or less looks like what I want it to look like. The past 3 or 4 shows, that's changed. So because I punched up the color just a little bit and sent it to YouTube, well, YouTube's algorithm now ultra saturates it. So a couple of live shows, I wasn't particularly happy with the results, to be perfectly honest, because there were some clown vomity colors going on. And I'm like, that's not my creative choice there. So in this particular live show, I am kind of bringing my colors back down again. And now that I'm seeing it on screen here on YouTube, not bad. I think it's acceptable. It's never as good as what comes out of my camera, granted, because it's not like in 4K and like with like really high bitrate color depth and everything like that, but it's okay. It's not like downright fraudulent or anything, which is, I guess, is good. Okay. Than, how long do you dip your zoanthids only in fresh water? So if you're really conservative, just a couple minutes is all it takes, because all you need to do is long enough to knock off some of those little creepy crawlies and stuff. It doesn't take very long in fresh water. I have dipped it as long as 10 minutes. And I know some people that have dipped it even longer than that. I wouldn't go beyond like 5 to be safe. And you really don't need to. You can like shake it up a little bit. Seeing the corals in 1080, but that shirt is 8K. That's funny. That is funny. Well, what is crazy is like the camera that's pointed at me is, you know, it is my 4K cinema camera. So this should be the best webcam anybody's got pointed at them. Let's see. What are your thoughts on the Triton method? So I want to be fair to the Triton method because I haven't used it. Like I haven't used anything. I've never even done an ICP test of any kind ever before. Some people like it a lot. I think one of the things that they try to, as a selling point, is that like you don't have to do water changes anymore. You're just replenishing like depleted or lower trace elements and stuff like that. That's fine. It's part of their whole, you know, brand and market idea. That just the part about the water change thing will never work out with me. Like that is such an integral part of how we do things here. And it's one of those things where it's all cool when you say you don't have to do water changes. Then I would counter with, okay, bet me $5 million that you're right. Because that's what you're asking me to do. Like the amount of inventory and stuff like that like large facilities have to protect is a shockingly high amount. So changes in methodologies that might be cutting. So, okay, so I'll finish the sentence, then I'll go off on my little tangent. changes in like established methodologies have to be done very, very, very carefully and really fleshed out before going crazy and putting a lot of stuff at risk. The other thing about cutting edge stuff, okay, is that you have to be aware that they're prone to failure just because they are not tried and tested stuff for 30 years. And this happens a lot in like the camera stuff, a lot, for example. There's this company called Tidal. I recently had to return a device that I purchased used for $2,200 because it was being goofy, because it is cutting edge stuff, right? And that was part of like the barbecue live stream that I want to do. I wanted to use a very, very high wireless broadcasting solution. The highest quality broadcasting solutions are made by a company called Tidal. They're cutting edge, prone to failure. It goes back. I have to use a phone now. Another thing, my $8,000 camera, cinema camera stabilizer, cutting edge. They're very good at stabilizing cameras. You know what they're not good at? Batteries. So their batteries are the worst things I've ever seen in my whole life. You have to keep them at 30% or else they die. If you let them drain all the way down, they die. If you leave them on their charger for a couple days and forget about them, they die. And worst thing ever. Like what? But they need these specialized batteries to run their motor systems and stuff. So getting back to the whole aquarium thing, being an early adopter in a lot of stuff, not the best idea all the time. And if you are a large-scale commercial operation, you should almost never consider it. You need to stick with what works. And in the case of like this facility, Tidal Gardens, the answer is water changes. But it's not to say that it doesn't work. It's just we can't be cutting edge anymore. Like every time that we try to experiment with newer things, it puts so much stuff at risk because we don't have like a 10-gallon tank to test it on. And any information that we would glean from testing it on a small volume of water doesn't necessarily mean it's going to scale once we put it into 2,000 gallons, you know? So yeah, long story short, I'm not the best advocate for it, but I'm sure that there's plenty of people that have tried it and are happy with it. The testing, I think that there's always some value in having more data available. And so in that sense, like a lot of the new controllers, things like the Triton, like super secret stuff that we can't talk about that might be coming down the pike. That stuff is all very interesting. That allows continuous monitoring. I think that stuff is always great. Okay, so please talk about Anacropora. What are they related to and care? I guess they're technically sort of related to Acropora and other SPS like that. They are easier to take care of. I would say that it's kind of a cross between like what you just saw, Montipora setosa, and an Acropora. They grow really fast. They grow pretty much as fast as a bird's nest. And we did an entire video on that, so if you haven't seen our Anacropora video, you can check that out. Grubby guppies. Whenever I take pictures of corals, I usually have to make adjustments so that the pictures show what the corals actually look like in person. Galaxy S10 Pro mode also helps with that. Yeah, and especially with phones, like the type of photography that we do with aquariums is very challenging. And phones are getting better, but yeah, for my purposes, I've invested significantly more to try to get better footage and better pictures and stuff like that. And speaking of my camera that I take I don't even take the stills. Ben takes the stills, right? So all that great photography you see on social media, it's Ben. I taught him out how to use it, and he's gotten really good at it. But we're using a camera that's no joke, like maybe 15 years old now. And it still takes great photos. But we are looking at getting a new camera, and assuming that I'm not drowning in debt by the time that we do need a new camera, I've got one in mind that is going to be so flipping amazing that I can't wait. Let's see. Anmar, how do I deal with aptasia? So for me, aptasia is really simple. Have a copper band butterfly. If you have a copper band butterfly, you will not have aptasia. There are other things that eat Aptasia as well. The copper band is my favorite. Second favorite would be peppermint shrimp. Let's see. Glenn Smith. Great live, knowledgeable YouTube shows. Keep it going strong. All the best. Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate it. Okay, intro to reefing. Would you rather have your water above or below natural seawater levels if for some reason you couldn't have that? Okay, so if you couldn't have it directly on natural seawater levels, I understand what you're saying. I would have it slightly above. And the reason why I would choose slightly above is that I've noticed that stuff tends to do better. And the excess availability of a lot of those a lot of the elements and compounds tends to have an actually like a beneficial effect, whereas having too little kind of makes them a little bit emaciated and makes the skeletons like more brittle and stuff. So I would go slightly above. Now, one thing is we're kind of artificially doing that here now with our systems. Before we would keep our salinity right around 1.025. We've now bumped it closer to 2.7 to 2.8. And the big driving force behind that decision is so we would have elevated alkalinity, calcium, magnesium, things like that. Thanks to Please for putting in that link to the barbecue. Tickets are still available. It's $25, and the event is on the 27th. Gonna have a bunch of interesting guests. Rico's gonna be there if you want to hang out with that guy. And there's gonna be plenty of food. That's the idea, anyways. We're gonna make it work. Mel Wong, Canon 1DX Mark III. That is not the camera that I'll be getting. If that's your camera, very cool, very good camera. So the 1DX series is a very sport type camera, like a lot of frames per second. So it's really good for like, action type stuff. We shoot corals. So in the Canon line, we would be closer to like a 5D SR, like a very high megapixel full frame. But I found a different camera even. So I might be switching away from Canon to do the still photography side of things. And I love Canon. I'm like the biggest Canon honk out there. Harkins, all I can say is you have the best quality videos of all the YouTube channels I've ever watched. Oh, thank you, appreciate it. I try. I need to make more videos. That's my biggest downfall in all this. I need to make more videos. So in the camera video, I did talk about that, like anything that can reduce the friction involved with production has to happen, because it's so very easy to get like derailed and taken off into a completely different direction and not then make videos. Nathan bought my ticket. Did you? Good. Pay your fair share, right? No, appreciate it, Nathan. It'll be good to have you there. Marcus, do you test for strontium? I do not. Harkins, C100 for sale if you buy your new one. So this isn't going to be for my video camera. It's a stills camera to take product photos. So this is basically, I'm just going to hand this thing to Ben, and it's like, go crazy. It's not out just yet, but it'll, by the time that I have the funds to actually afford something like that, it'll be out. Is blue pavona encrusting? Royce Garner. I was about to call you Hoyce because I've been watching like so much UFC over the years. I see Royce and it's like it's Hoyce. Is blue pavona encrusting? It is encrusting, yes. Phil Harton, how close is there a place to stay if I come to the barbecue? So there are hotels 2 minutes away from here, and it's basically you hop on the freeway and you hop off at my place. It's very, very quick, like literally 2 minutes. Depending on where you stay, it's also probably a 2-minute drive to LeBron's house, not taking the freeway. It's like right in that area. So for the people that are familiar with it, with Akron, you know what I'm talking about. DC. Hello, everybody. I agree, more videos, Tidal Gardens, but I really love when you visit and spotlight the local reefers tanks. Yeah, I need to do that more too. And there's there's 3 guys in town that I constantly go over to their places. All 3 of them need an update video. So we'll work on that. And when I travel, now I want to try to do a little bit of pre-scouting and see if somebody's got like some bomb tank that I have to see, right? So I was very lucky that in Dallas, when I went down there for Aquashella, that a local hobbyist there reached out to me. Like I didn't actually go and do any due diligence on that, but he reached out to me, and that's where you see Ryan's 1,000 gallon SPS Reef. Like, fantastic tank, right? I want to see if there's like tanks like that wherever I end up going. So if I am traveling away from here and not being such a hermit, I'll reach out on social media and say, hey, you know, are there any tanks that are really amazing? Please send me some photos and stuff like that, and I'll try to fit maybe 1 or 2 of them in my travels. It's tight, so obviously I won't be able to see everybody's, but I'm curious. Blue Basin's like, the C100 is mine. I'll tell you what, I will sell the so I have to keep the C100 just in case the C200 dies for some reason, just in case. But one day I might have 2 C200s, and at that point the C100 gets put up for sale. You know what? And Mel Wong guessed the camera that I want. That is right. Very good. How did you guess? That is a heck of a guess. David can't. Wish I could make it. I live in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Would like to travel out there to see you guys, though. Yeah, definitely make a trip one day. I mean, there's not everybody has an occasion to come to Northeast Ohio, but if you are in the neck of the woods, I'd come on down. There was somebody that actually came from overseas to visit family that's in the area, and it's like a really funny story because like the family was like saying, you know, while you're in the U.S., you know, we can go see Niagara Falls and everything like that. And I think the only place that he wanted to be was Tidal Gardens. Like, so like that was like, he would rather come here than go to like, you know, some big tourist thing you have to see. Hilarious. Ritesh Varma, sorry, I missed a super chat from earlier. Thanks for all the knowledge. I appreciate you. Thank you for the $2. And Zachary Buckland, 99 cents. Thank you, Zachary. So earlier somebody was saying that like if you're a YouTube premium person, now you can give like $1.99 to as a part of like the super chat thing. This is the first I've heard of it. It was like just this live show. Marcus, did you keep Nathan's bounce mushroom alive? I did not. I think I know what's wrong though. So are you guys familiar with spaghetti worms? Like spaghetti worms are considered a beneficial worm for like refugiums and stuff like that. They have like a kind of a gross little body, and then they have this, you know, these little yellow, really fine thin strings, yellow stuff, right? And I was always told that, you know, these are good, and people buy them for their refugiums and sumps and things like that, if they have like a little section there. And they usually just, you know, dig around in the substrate and they have like a little thing, right? Well, a lot of our tanks are bare bottom. So what was happening is that these worms would camp out right next to a coral and do their little spread out thing. And not a big deal, right? I'm thinking, you know, it's fine. It's probably just going to grab some you know, loose pieces of food here and there. Not a big deal. But I started to notice that some corals that have all of these spaghetti worms around them started to do poorly. And once we started removing those things from the base of the corals, all those corals started to flourish. And then that got me thinking about those bounce mushrooms. The bounce mushroom plates that we had were covered in spaghetti worms. And so I'm wondering if it's entirely possible that the spaghetti worms were the reason why we lost probably a dozen bounce mushrooms of various varieties. So in the future, I think I'm going to look into that. Mel Wong, Fujifilm has beautiful colors. I was watching this. Sorry for everybody else. This is a little bit of a photography tangent. I'm sorry, but I saw this blog that, or not, it's not a blog. It's like a video where they did that, like this blind test thing. They showed 4 images, and one was labeled 1, 2, 3, 4, and asked which color do you prefer, and then they did the same picture, slightly different order, but then labeled them Canon, Sony, Nikon, Fuji. And when it was just numbers, no brand names, people liked Fuji the best, absolutely the best. When you put the camera names on it, they hated the Fuji one the most. They liked, I think, they liked the Nikon image the best, which is really kind of similar to the Canon image. And so those are kind of like neck and neck. And then there was this Fuji one, which blind, they had all said that was their favorite, is now the worst. So I wonder if something similar would happen in the coral reef hobby, where maybe if you take like all these different corals and just like had a number, not a name or anything like that, and see which one, which acro you would prefer, right? But then once like you start to label them, it's like, oh, but this is a Walt Disney. Oh, this is a such and such. Oh, this came from cherry corals, or this came from Tidal Gardens, or this came from Worldwide. Like, I wonder like how that would then play into how people perceive that, because like I wonder if their blind choices would line up to their favorites once branding and also like the named corals all come into play. I'm curious. Let's see. Cynoches, love my spaghetti worms. They are in my rock and sand bed. Yeah. Grubby Guppies. Yep, free super chat. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I wonder if it's like a once a month thing. I don't know how that works. The $2 thing. But that's you know what? I'll tell you what, I'm glad. I need the monies, guys. I will take it. So if you guys are like YouTube premiums and you want to support your favorite streamers, get after it. It is that free super chat. It's that Andrew Yang super chat. Yes, Reef and Dive. Have you seen the BRS experiments on high parameter tanks? I'd like to know your thoughts. I thought that was pretty compelling. I mean, they showed different growth rates with the higher parameter tanks. I was kind of expecting it to not have much of a difference, but I could certainly see some benefit to having some elevated nutrients. Mel, if I don't have to shoot both photo and video, I will get Fujifilm for photo as well. Yeah. So I guess like the GFX 100 does shoot pretty good video, but for me, like no stills form factor is gonna work now that I've been in cinema land for so long, and like the purpose-built cinema cameras, like the ergonomics are so much better for shooting video. It's very hard to then go back to like a Canon DSLR or something like that. So yeah, I hope to get a GFX 100 and just do that for just the stills. And I really love the Canon cinema series for all that stuff. Yeah, and Mel is still pushing the Z cam. Yeah, I remember you brought that up before. See, I don't like those red like cameras, but maybe that's just me. Let's see, Guanc Reef Keeping. Do you shoot the live sale video under T5? Yes. So these T5s are basically a combination of Blue Plus and Coral Plus. Some of them are different, but most of all of these guys are under that. And there's quite a bit of sunlight coming in, like especially when I shot these things, like item number 146, it was very bright out. like very bright. So you're seeing quite a lot of sunlight. You know what? Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I have to run and use the bath. Run and use the bathroom when I can speak. And I'm back. All I can say is, whoa, the rest of this building is definitely not air conditioned. Feels like it's 90 out there. Aaron Alexander, my only question about those tanks would be, is it worth it? They showed that the high parameter tank used 500% more alk. Did it? I don't think it's that high. But does it give 500% more growth? Definitely not. It was subtle more than anything. Intro to reefing. What's your favorite color or mix of colors to have on a coral? I actually tend to be a lot more daylight colored than most people. Like a lot of tanks I see, they're very blue heavy. My tanks tend to be very daylight. Tech Gear Talk, what is up? What is up? So Tech Gear Talk is the guy that shot all of my camera equipment for that last camera video. Yeah. So Sagi, I was telling him or telling the crowd about how like YouTube just crushes videos that are not in the lane that they've designated. So in Tech Gear Talk's case, he wanted to do like a lot more different types of consumer electronics videos. So for example, like headphones or phones, whatever, like maybe like even carrying cases for cameras and stuff. And basically anything that is not only a camera just gets crushed on his channel. So he'll do like a review on like on let's say a new Canon mirrorless, like an SL2 or something, I don't know, and it'll get like 150,000 views. If he does like a review on like this mouse, you know, it'll get like, oops, it'll get like 6. Not even kidding. It's like the non-only camera stuff gets obliterated. Let's see, Reef and Dive. 1490 bathroom super chat. I appreciate it. Where are you from? I don't know if you said it before, but I don't know what that R is. Guanc Reef Keeping. Fan, what is your opinion on gel filters? I don't like the aesthetic. Okay, so I'm not a huge fan of the aesthetic either, but I think it's a trade-off that some people have to make. Because if you're shooting like with this iPhone, right? This thing here can't shoot any tanks. Like as soon as you start shooting actinic with this thing, it's not working out. So it'll turn a completely unusable blue blobby picture into a somewhat usable orange picture, if that makes sense. So it's not ideal. It's not by any way, shape, or form correct, but the previous result was just nothing. Like, you couldn't use it. It's just blue trash, essentially. Some of the newer phones, I have like an Android phone. I think it's like an S8, Galaxy S8. It's decent, but it's also still a smartphone, right? But there's certain cameras that can't even, like actual cameras that will even struggle with that. So just to see, I had purchased like a yellow filter that I can screw onto my camera. Yeah, I really didn't like it. But once you step up into like the cinema series, it can handle pretty much anything you throw at it. But do I like the aesthetic? I don't. But I think it's a necessary evil for people that only have a phone that struggles like crazy with actinic light. But I think it's also like this new wrinkle, because I'm used to seeing a lot of corals, and I know what a coral looks like when I see a picture online, because sometimes people will doctor up an image to look kind of crazy, but I know basically what that would look like in real life. But then when all the orange filter stuff started being like more popular, that's when I had to like relearn what stuff looked like, because it's like, oh, that looks really, really amazing. It's like, oh, it's yellow filtered. And then in reality, oh, okay, now I know what it looks like. It's just this other thing that I've seen a million times before. Yeah, I mean, I think you can probably get used to yellow filters for a good little while longer. Not well, and I'm not even casting so much of a judgment on it, but you will never see that on my videos. Like that's not a design choice I would go for. Ah, Brazil. Gotcha. The Coral Connoisseur. I'm about to add new lights to the tank. What's your opinion on the Orphic Atlantic V4? I have not used it personally, but Nathan, who is in chat or was in chat, he loves his. He has one over, maybe his is a V3, but he has one over his frag tank, and his frag tank is growing coral like crazy, and it's coloring up coral very nicely. And I do like the spread that it gives, because it's like this. It's not like a puck of LEDs. It's kind of spread out evenly over the entire bottom of the light. And the only knock on that particular fixture is that, going back to the camera thing, it's very difficult to shoot under. It has a very weird pink purple overcast to it, and it's hard to remove that. I mean, LEDs in general are kind of difficult to photograph under, and that whatever combination of LEDs that they're using, even more so. But as far as like growing coral, it was outstanding as far as I could tell. Barry Richards, $1.99. Hello. Everybody say hi to Barry Richards, and thank you for the $1.99. Grubby Guppies, I've noticed that iPhones have a particularly hard time with actinic lights. Yeah, mine definitely does. Mine's an older one though. It's not even a 7. I think it's a 6. I don't upgrade phones very often. Phil Harton, where do I get tickets for the barbecue? You can go to tidalgardensbbq.eventbrite.com. Let me see if I can just throw that into chat here. bbq. Boom. So that link should take you, well, it's not even a link, but will the new showroom be open for the BBQ? Yes, it will be. Now, it's going to be like one of those silly reality shows where like everything has to be done at the last minute for some event, right? It's like, well, why didn't you plan this out better? Well, we were supposed to get our tanks back in April. They got delayed all the way till mid-July. So by the time that we get the aquariums to when they have to be plumbed and filled with water, and probably we'll throw in some corals in there, And oh yeah, and all the lighting and all the equipment, all that fun stuff. The 18th to the 27th, all that work has to be done on a 2,000 gallon system incorporating 5 tanks and a sump. It's ambitious, but we're going to try to get everything in place and done for you guys for the barbecue. The building is cool on its own, no doubt, but I would like there to be tanks full of water. Let's see. YouTube's new algorithm is pretty ridiculous. Creators are diving off the platform left and right. Too bad there isn't another platform that competes just yet. And Diacanthus said, if there was an obvious platform to jump to, I'd expect YouTube would be an incredibly painful spot. The whole TV platform thing going on is definitely not what I'm watching YouTube for. Yeah, so YouTube is going much more towards like television, right? Twitch seems to be where a lot of people are moving over to. It kind of just depends. I mean, they both have their positives and negatives, and cultivating different communities and whatnot. As much as I like knock on YouTube, it's so clear that YouTube has made such a profound difference for my company, right? That I can't hate on it too much. But boy, do I wish they did stuff differently. But they got more right than they got wrong. I'll give them credit for that. Yeah, Nathan, love my Atlantic V3. I plan to go with V4s over my new tanks. Sorry, I was across from scraping glass. Let's see. ATF in the house. How do you determine pricing on corals? Well, we basically make them up. A lot of it, though, kind of depends on how many we have. Certain ones are going to be less expensive just because we have a lot of it. We want to move it out. How big are the plugs and the pieces? So if you can see the plug, it is 1 inch, basically. Fire Festival 2.0. We have working bathrooms here. So no, not Fire Festival. And we don't have Ja Rule or Blink 182 or whoever the heck was supposed to be there. They're trying to make another Fire Festival, by the way. Like I think they're trying to. I mean, when everybody gets out of jail, they're going to try to do another Fire Festival. Matt Adair, are you going to use your old system to cycle your new tanks? No, we are starting from scratch. So one thing that is a little bit different when you're talking about like a 2,000 gallon system versus let's say a home-sized aquarium of 75 to 100 gallons, let's say. There really isn't much that goes on in the way of a cycle because there's so much dilution that happens in such large volumes of water, and if you use any kind of like bacterial media to grow stuff, even like moderate amounts of live rock, let's say, the processing capacity of all that water plus all that media, it greatly outpaces like the level of stocking that we would be doing. It's like dropping. It would be like having, let's say, a 180 gallon tank and putting in 1 damsel in it, and be like, boy, I hope the cycle's not too rough. I mean, think about how much ammonia that fish would have to put out for you to even detect it in that tank, right? It's practically nothing, especially if there's tons of surface area for bacteria to grow. So in that sense, I'm not really too fixated on like starting up, like restarting like any kind of cycle or anything. It's going to be pretty easy, I'm expecting. Nice. Phil Harton's got his tickets. Nice. Look forward to meeting you, Phil. And I'm going to be doing like a live stream for maybe like only a couple hours for the barbecue, just so the people online can get a feel for what it's like, and just to kind of like do some interactive stuff. But I also want to make sure that I have enough time to just to spend with the people that did show up, because I don't want to be like just doing like live streaming the whole time and not even talk to my guests, right? So I'm planning on maybe like a 2-hour thing, and we'll have some fun. And I think 2 hours is long enough to be barbecuing, right? Jamie Reed, Dan, I need help with my frog spawn. I can't keep them alive. Also, my hammers and torches and LPS and everything else is fine. Okay. Specifically with frog spawn, not really sure. It could depend on a lot of things, to be honest. So one thing that I would always try to do is just some type of prophylactic dip, just to see if there's anything kind of like bothering it directly. Also, see if there's anything in your tank that you have that might be bothering it. Like, do you have any dwarf angels, things like that? Other than that, obviously test your chemistry to make sure it's not just deficient in something. And if like nothing is really checking out, I like to do kind of like the just in case water change sort of thing, and sometimes it helps bring things back. But it could be a lot of things, and sometimes it's just the source also. Like stuff that was very recently imported tends to be a lot more fragile than stuff that was aquacultured, for example. So, in that sense, was this something that you picked up from a local fish store that, like regularly brings in lots of shipments all the time, and you just got it fresh off of a new shipment? Things like that is something to be watchful for, because all of that could impact like the survivability of a coral like that. So hopefully that's helpful. It's kind of an overarching broad answer, but hopefully there's something in there that'll work. Yeah, Marcus, I named that chalice Pinky in the Brain. So a lot of these things we don't name ourselves. So like, well, we probably did name this one because it's just like a color, right? A color and then an acropora. But the stuff that has like the more interesting names, we try really hard to find other people that have named stuff and use their names. Too much flow. Yeah, that's also a possibility. But if all the other Euphyllia are doing okay in that similar flow, it's less worrisome. And it just started to thunderstorm outside. So if I suddenly cut out, it's okay. We were only 3 corals away from the beginning anyways, or the end of the show anyways. But yeah, any last minute questions, you guys? Hopefully, you know what? The fact that it's raining is insane. Like earlier in the show, I talked about how Ohio is flooding, right? This is what I'm talking about. It's basically like a thunderstorm every day. And it's gotten so bad that like my greenhouse is flooding and stuff. Partly because it's a lot of rain. Also partly I think that the drainage line for that floor drain in front of my greenhouse, I think it got crushed by a concrete truck. So it's not flowing as well. So if it rains really hard, I can like watch on the cameras as like the water creeps along the floor. And if it's really bad, it'll go the entire length of the whole building, which is 50 something feet. That's not scary. Marine Hobby, hi Than, hi guys. Welcome. Unfortunately, this show is almost over. We only have like this one and the next one is it. I will do my little last rounds. So if you guys have any last minute questions, by all means, throw that into the chat. Yeah, I'm just looking at the actual footage that's showing up on YouTube, and I'm pretty happy with the color for a change. Good. So Phil is asking, when you're aquascaping and placing corals, which ones can go with zoa colonies and look good? With a zoa colony and look good? Well, zoas aren't particularly aggressive. That's what's kind of nice. So a lot of things are, if there was any kind of stinging conflict, here I'm gonna go right to back to the barbecue slide. So Tidal Gardens barbecue, you'll see some info on it shortly. What could go with it? You could try some different types of LPS. I mean, Euphilia could work. I sometimes like big leathers, right? Like big toadstool leathers with zoanthids down below it look very cool. Something to contrast the height, because zoanthids very colorful, but also very, very flat. They'll only crust on the rocks and give you some texture there. But design-wise, I like to elevate from the rocks a bit. So maybe gorgonians, maybe finger leathers, maybe toadstool leathers is something I would take a look at. And maybe something along with it that could grow on the rock would maybe be some cool rhodactis and stuff like that. Something colorful but completely different texture. Yeah, Goodyear Reefer. Glad it's raining. My mud was dehydrating. For real. Like, I have to carefully plan when I can even mow my grass, because it'll be like 5 days of rain, one open day, 5 more days of rain. You have 1 day to cut that grass. And cutting that grass is treacherous because it's like your whole lawn has like mud traps in it, where it's like you might not ever leave. No purple pavona. If you're talking about purple pavona with zoanthids, it'll probably be fine. Pavona can get a little stingy, so that's one thing to keep an eye out for. Anybody that has pavona. Let's see. Sutsamadori 97. How do I keep fast-growing corals like zoas on an island? Won't they just grow on the sand? They really don't grow on the sand. So if you have an isolated rock, it's pretty much going to stay there. And Diacanthus, thanks for putting out the link for the barbecue. Hope to see many of you there. It's looking like the event is coming together quite nicely. There's going to be plenty of food, plenty of drinks. That's all included in the ticket price. And the ticket price is $25. And I can already guarantee you will get your monies back, because in there is going to be a $25 Tidal Gardens gift card that you can spend. So, if nothing else, there's a gift card for that. There's also a gift card for some other vendors as well. So I know that I talked to zoanthids.com and I talked to Cherry Corals. So, hopefully we'll get something good going on there. And then there's some other sponsors that we're talking with. Brightwell has sent some stuff. Omega, who makes my salt, is going to be providing some stuff. Coral Frenzy, I believe Polyp Lab, Fritz. I know that I should have this written down before I forget somebody. They get mad at me and not send anything, right? Let's see, where's my barbecue planning document? There we go. Let's see. Coral RX might be. So also the Magical Reef, which is like a smaller store in Ohio. He makes frag packs, like for basically all the frag plugs that I have there. Those are all made by him. So he'll have some stuff for you. Did I miss anybody? There's some people that are on the fence. I don't want to mention them, but there's some other people that we're talking with, but they haven't committed to anything just yet. Okay. Well, I need to probably close some windows downstairs and stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed the live show. Let's see, any last minute questions? Zoas with acros, probably fine. Actually, it should be fine because I've personally seen them on the reef together in Vietnam. Than, make sure to hug your parents every day. I lost both of mine in the last week. Oh, really? I'm sorry, Debbie. That's a bummer. Yeah, one thing that I'm eternally grateful for with doing this whole Tidal Gardens thing is that I get to see my parents all the time. Like they're literally here every single day. You know, it's like I don't ever, you know, once they finally do move on, I won't look back and think I wish I spent more time with them. That's just not going to be one regret I had. I'll have other regrets perhaps, but that's not going to be one of them. So, yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that, Debbie. That's a bummer. Reef dive, thanks, Stan and team. Yeah, condolences. Darren wishes he lived in the U.S. just for the corals. I appreciate it. All right, rain's coming down. I'm actually getting hungry.